Well, let's just start out this post-Christmas first vlog with my question of the day. Are you like me? Do you start thinking about gardening the minute Christmas is over? Some of you may wait till after New Year's, but for me, as soon as the holidays are over, immediately I go into gardening mode and I start looking, and I look at all things gardening. I start ordering seeds. I start looking at all of my gardening books for ideas, and I also start doing frequent and regular garden walkabouts so that when spring finally arrives and I can really get out there and tackle some projects, I know exactly what my game plan is. So I'm starting to do that right now. So in this walkabout, I'm going to show you some things that I'm assessing, that I'm thinking about, and that I'm starting to do a little bit of research on what I plan to do next year. Now, you're gonna see me taking frequent sips of water because I'm pretty dehydrated. I won't go into this too much, but let's just say, as wonderful as the holidays were with both of my sons together and my new daughter-in-law, I did have a little run-in with the ER on Christmas Day, Christmas Day night. And I won't go into it too much, but I'm fine now. But I'm very, very dehydrated. Let me put it that way. So let's talk a little bit about the front porch and my concerns over the fact that it is just so inordinately warm. I think I spent Christmas in Colorado, but I think, Stuart, wasn't it like between 75 and 80 on Christmas Day here? Yeah, I think so. And it's just been inordinately warm. Had to take a drink of water there. And in addition to that, it's been very, very windy. So this has me concerned, and it will kind of inform some of my strategizing in the coming weeks, because we have a real bitter cold front that's going to come in at the end of the week, and it still looks very, very dry. So I've had to still water frequently, you guys. It's pretty bad when you go out of town on for Christmas and you can barely be gone 3 or 4 days, and you have to worry about watering when you get back. But I did. You can see here how some of the pansies in the window box just dried out. This, as I've told you before, faces south, and so it gets pretty brutal sun. I'm a little bit concerned because I've already got some bulbs starting to come up. But I do have this mulched with leaves, and it may not look real great, but I'm gonna keep it mulched with leaves, and then hopefully when we get that really hard freeze at the end of the week, it will protect it some and try to keep the temperatures, the soil temperatures, as consistent as possible. I'm not sure if that will work or not, but I'm gonna give it a try. As I look at this, I am telling myself and recording in my journal that I need some kind of vertical element here, and it may happen in one of my QVC baskets. It might be another evergreen or whatever, but I need a little bit more visual weight on this side. I'm also going to do some pots that have, I think, nothing but annuals in them this year. I may use some of the urns and things that are in my Linda Vater QVC collection. I'm not really sure, but I think in addition to this, I'm just going to have some kind of floating pots out here that have nothing but annual color in them, and only one kind of annual color per pot. So some things that I'm thinking about this year are lots of grays, pale blues, and pale pinks. And I think I'm going to try to do plumbago next year. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about. Let me know what color schemes you're thinking about. So right now, the front porch looks pretty bare. Here's something that I'm going to research. In the past, I'm going to be looking for a container that will pretty much fit this standing wrought iron, well, it's just kind of a wrought iron container for plantings, or at least that's what I use it for. So I'm going to look into having a metal perforated, make sure I have perforation in it for good drainage, liner that I can put in here so that I can keep something in here that's a little bit more permanent and not so transitory. What I've had in the past wasn't really formidable enough, and it wasn't very enduring, so I'm looking into that. I want to show you a little idea. I didn't really stage this very well for you guys, but I have a table that's right inside this little vestibule of my front door. And I've got slides on the bottom of this little table. It normally sits, I don't know if Stuart, the lighting here is going to be really awkward, you guys, and I apologize. But Stuart, if you can look inside the door over there, you can see that right by the mailbox, there is a spot to the left of the mailbox opening where I usually have this little table.
You can't really see.
Huh? You can't really see?
Just see me in the reflection.
Just see in the reflection. We may have to cut that out, Stuart. I don't know. At any rate, the point is I take this little table and it's on slides. And so when I want to give my plants a sun bath, these Breck bulbs need a little bit more light to bloom. So I just then scooch it over without scratching the floor by the front door in this south-facing sun, and it works brilliantly, and then I just put it back in place. There's not a lot of temperature fluctuation in there right now with cold drafts and things because the temperatures today, let's see, it's about 50 now. There's no wind. It's supposed to get up to about 62 today, I think. And so inside, there's not a lot of really cold drafts that I need to be concerned about. So that's kind of where it is on my front porch. Lots of my myrtle topiaries that I keep just inside the door in my dining room. On days like this, they come out for a little bask in the sun. They like some sunbathing too. And you'll notice that my topiary pots, for the winter time, I put a layer of moss over them rather than just the gravel typically. So that's that for the front porch. Oh, one more thing. At the end of my porch, Stuart showed that I've already taken down my small Christmas tree, and I am going to drag that to the back in that kind of blank area by the second arbor in the potager, and that's where all the needles can fall. It's a good little haven for birds, and that way it doesn't end up in the landfill. So I'll be doing that a little bit later. So that is kind of my front porch styling concerns right now. It's going to start looking pretty rugged as it gets into January and February, but that's okay. That's what's to be expected. Some other things on my to-do list. I'm going to get a new lantern to the right of my front door, and I'm also shopping for a new pole lantern out in the garden beds to replace the one that I lost a while back. So now let's go to area number 2 in this Wednesday walkabout. Well, in my second area that I want to show you guys today, look at this gorgeous Lenten rose. Normally in my garden, these aren't in bloom until in January, but this one, with this wonderful purpley maroon hue, is already putting on all sorts of blooms, and I anticipate that the other hellebore in the landscape, Stuart, if you don't mind showing right behind you that huge mound of hellebore. The foliage doesn't even look very tattered, but pretty soon I anticipate that those will start blooming. I'll probably cut a few of these this week to make some tiny little arrangements before that really brutal Arctic blast comes in. I think it's supposed to get down to 12 or 18. I'm not really sure. So I may cut some of those. I want to show you over here. This is something else that I'm having to kind of think about. Look at how large and massive this mound of foxglove is right here. So I'm really going to have to divide and separate and spread lots of these foxglove around. I can't wait to do that. And I'm also looking to see if all of my encore azaleas back in here in this bed, if they're starting to put on buds, and they are. And this area, which was devastated last year, is probably one of the spaces that I'm now most excited about for this coming spring, to see how it all comes together with this beautiful just orchestration of these pink and white encore azaleas. You know, I'm kind of a fanatic about them now. So I'll probably be doing a little bit of moving here, moving there with these azaleas, but I think it's going to be absolutely beautiful, and I'll make sure to give these guys a good feed. So that is what's going on in this area right now. You'll notice that there's lots of leafy mulch. I keep this in place. I will not clean it up until in spring, and that just keeps what little moisture we have, that keeps it in the soil after it comes down. So now let's move to a third area. Well, I'm really analyzing this space right here, and there's a tip, you guys. Sometimes I really deconstruct the entirety of the garden to just take, let's say, a 6 by 6 foot section of the garden and analyze how it's performing. And in this case, it's this area right here where I'm coming up from the lawn and onto the stepping stones that then progress through the garden bed. And this area has lots of challenges, and some of those I have created myself because of plant placement. So I've got a boxwood right here, and it is blocking a sprinkler head. So I'm either gonna have to move the boxwood or move the sprinkler head, and I will determine that in the next few weeks. I've also noticed that because it blocks the sprinkler system from hitting what is in this area right here, that some of the pansies and violas that I planted, you can see they've got a little bit of frost heave, but they're just not doing anything. They've got no water. And when this was planted, this root ball really wasn't loosened sufficiently. You can see that should have been a lot looser, and that's probably why that one expired. But you can see also over here some really fun new seedlings of larkspur, and I anticipate, and I'm hoping that with enough kind of leafy cover, those will make it through till next year. And of course, I've got lots of tulips and things that will be erupting all over. And once the tulip bulbs start coming up, I'll have an idea of how to rearrange what's around those bulbs, and I can do that a little bit later. Right now, I'm just in an assessment mode to see what's coming up where and what needs attention. And it's really kind of fun. I'm also starting to designate which of these boxwood balls is going to come out, and I'll be thinking about where I want to place them, because I don't need this many now that they've gotten mature. And then of course right here where I have one of my QVC hanging lanterns, that's where my new pole lantern will be once I decide what I want to use. So I will get that installed hopefully before the tulips come up in the spring, if I can do it without really disturbing a lot of what's growing around it. I love the fact that I can see tons and tons of columbine seedlings, columbine foliage, and even though the foliage will die back once it gets really, really cold, I know that they will be there for that second flush of bloom after the tulips fade. So I'm just kind of doing an analysis. I'm standing back from the street, looking at it, seeing where I might want to add some more evergreen interest, what looks too crowded. I had to hold off on hard pruning a lot of my boxwood. For example, in the distance right in front of that holly, Stuart, there's a large boxwood that's has lost its form. I'll be doing some hard pruning on that in late winter. And also when temperatures kind of moderate and I can, I'll start moving around maybe little patches of ajuga. Look at all this foxglove in here. It should be a spectacular foxglove year next spring. And I would, if I had really nice temperatures on the horizon, I would probably, you know, make the effort to deadhead my pansies and violas, but I'm not going to do that because pretty soon it's going to get very, very cold. One important thing that I always appreciate is not only the good, strong architecture and structural bones of all of the boxwoods and the evergreens, but I just love the tidy lines and the border of the grassy area versus the flower beds. So that's something you can do to always immediately improve in any season. The look of your bed lines is by making them very crisp and manicured. Another thing that I'm going to keep an eye out for are signs of weeds and things that on a pretty day when I'm just itching to get outside and garden, I can take care of. So I've got some dandelions in here. I've got some poana grass that is coming out pretty easily right now. So I can prevent a major problem later by addressing some of this right now. And I can just pull it out easily, or I can slough it off. I could pour boiling water on it. But right now it's a pretty day, and it gives me an excuse to be outside and not inside cleaning my messy house and doing all of the laundry that I have coming back from our trip to Colorado. So there you go. There's a little bit of a front yard walkabout. What's going on? I'm just getting so excited about the coming gardening season, you guys. I can't wait. I've got all sorts of new projects planned. I've got some new guests that are going to be coming in. I'm lining up some garden tours for the coming year. We're going to go visit some different places out and about in Oklahoma and other areas, and I'm just really excited, and I hope you guys are as excited about me for the gardening year 2022 up ahead. There you go. Well, I have a fun fashion epilogue for today, and something that I'm going to try to continue to do in the future. And you guys so kindly tell me that you sometimes get inspiration from my outfit of the day. Well, you get inspiration from me only because I get inspiration from other places and copy it. So today's fashion du jour is from something that I saw in a magazine, or maybe it was a catalog, and I keep tear sheets of these kinds of things. I keep them in my closet, and that's something I'm going to show you a little bit more in the new year of how I kind of organize some things. But this was my inspiration for this outfit, and it's a wonderful way to give you ideas on different expressive ways that you can use things you've already got in your closet. And so I just took this inspiration image to come up with this fashion outfit du jour. So my sunglasses, I think, came from Target. They've got kind of a John Lennon vibe. My earrings I can't remember. I just love the look of them though. I really like this distressed silver look, almost a galvanized metal. All of my clothing came from Goodwill. So this is a BG Max Mara long cardigan. These are really, really popular right now. And I got this at Goodwill, as I did my shirt. This also came from Goodwill. And my jeans. These are Calvin Klein jeans that were a really great Goodwill find. My shoes came from a shoe store in Salida, Colorado. I can't remember exactly where. My bag came from a little boho shop in Indiana, and I actually got this as a gift for my mother-in-law, and when she passed, I recaptured it, and I think of her whenever I use it. I've really gotten into these smaller bags that hold just a few things. If you've got shoulder problems and you're just tired of heaving around a great big heavy tote, these are brilliant. My necklace has real meaning to me. The stone on it came from my sister Meg, and she and I put this necklace together, made from different beads and things that we had when we took apart some old jewelry. So there you go. There is my outfit of the day.